The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the sodium glow of streetlights as I pulled my beat-up Toyota into the parking lot of Bella Vita, the kind of upscale Italian joint where you're expected to tip more than I spend on groceries in a week. My hands gripped the steering wheel a little too tight, my knuckles pale against the cracked leather. It was Father's Day, June 21, 2025, and for the first time in months, I was about to see my boys, Liam, 17, and Noah, 15. My heart thumped with a mix of hope and dread, like I was walking into a job interview I hadn't prepared for. Sarah, my ex-wife, had texted me 2 days ago, her words uncharacteristically warm. "The boys want to take you to dinner. Private room at Bella Vita. Let's reconnect as a family." After 3 years of divorce and a slow bleed of distance from my sons, those words felt like a lifeline. I'd been clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, we were turning a corner. I straightened my tie, cheap but clean, and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. The bags under my eyes told the story of too many late nights at the tech startup, fighting to keep my job through wave after wave of layoffs. My dark hair was starting to gray at the temples, a reminder that at 42, life wasn't slowing down to give me a break. I grabbed the small gift bags from the passenger seat, customized keychains for Liam and Noah, each engraved with their initials and a tiny Seahawks logo. Small gestures, but I'd learned to treasure the little things when the big ones kept slipping away. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with the clink of wine glasses and the low hum of affluent chatter. The hostess, a young woman with a practiced smile, led me to a private room at the back. The door swung open and my stomach twisted. It wasn't just Sarah and the boys waiting for me. Sarah's parents, her sister Emily, her brother-in-law Mark, and 2 couples, friends we'd shared back when we were a wee, sat around a long mahogany table. 12 pairs of eyes turned to me, and the air felt heavy, like I'd walked into a courtroom instead of a dinner. Sarah stood at the head of the table, her blonde hair pulled back in a sleek bun, her smile tight but polished, like she was hosting a charity gala. Liam and Noah sat to her right, their faces unreadable, their phones nowhere in sight. A rarity that should have tipped me off. "James, you made it," Sarah said, her voice dripping with a warmth that didn't reach her eyes. She gestured to an empty chair at the opposite end of the table. "We've got something special planned." I forced a smile, my pulse quickening. "Good to see everyone," I said, nodding to the room. Sarah's father, Richard, gave me a curt nod, his silver mustache twitching. Her mother, Diane, stared at her wine glass like it held the secrets of the universe. The others, Mark, Emily, and the couples, Tom and Lisa, Greg and Karen, offered half smiles, their eyes darting to each other in a way that made my skin prickle. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I slid into my seat, the gift bags awkward in my lap, and tried to ignore the growing knot in my gut. Liam stood up, his lanky frame towering over the table. He was taller than I remembered, his jaw sharper, his eyes carrying a hardness I didn't recognize. "Dad, Noah and I have been working on a school project," he said, his voice steady but cold. "It's about family dynamics. We thought tonight would be the perfect time to share it." "Sounds great," I said, leaning forward, my voice brighter than I felt. "What kind of project?" Noah, quieter but no less intense, gestured to a waiter who was setting up a laptop and projector in the corner. "It's a documentary," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We want you to see it first." My chest swelled with a flicker of pride. My boys, making a documentary? Maybe they'd inherited my knack for problem solving, my drive to create something meaningful. I glanced at Sarah, expecting her to share my excitement, but she was staring at her hands, her fingers twisting a napkin into knots. The lights dimmed, and the projector hummed to life, casting a white glow on the wall. I settled back, ready for a slideshow of family photos, maybe some goofy interviews about growing up in Seattle. Then the title flashed across the screen in stark, white letters: "The Man Who Destroyed Our Family." The room spun, my breath caught in my throat, and for a moment I thought I'd misread it. But the words stayed there, unyielding, as the screen faded to black and Sarah's voice, calm, measured, like a goddamned NPR host, filled the room. "I married a man who promised us the world," she said, her face appearing on the screen, tears glistening in her blue eyes. But all he gave us was disappointment. I froze, my hands gripping the edge of the table. The gift bag slipped to the floor, forgotten. The documentary unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Sarah's voice narrated a litany of my failures, how I'd been absent during her mother's cancer battle, how I'd left her to carry the family alone, how I'd broken every promise I'd ever made. Liam and Noah's voices followed, each word a knife. "Dad was never there," Liam said, staring into the camera. "Not for my soccer games, not for my birthdays," Noah's voice cracked as he added, "He didn't even show up when I needed him most." Photos flashed across the screen, school plays, soccer matches, birthday candles, each one carefully chosen to show an empty chair where I should have been. Sad piano music swelled, tugging at the heartstrings of everyone in the room. Everyone except me, because I knew the truth. Those soccer games? I was at the office, working 70-hour weeks to keep our health insurance during the layoffs. Those birthdays, I'd sent gifts. Lego sets. Jerseys. Things they loved. That Sarah never gave them. The documentary didn't mention that. It didn't mention the nights I came home at 2 a.m., my eyes burning from staring at code, only to drive Sarah's mother to chemo at dawn. It didn't mention the promises I never made, trips to Hawaii, new cars, because we were barely scraping by. Then came the montage that made my blood run cold. Clips of Liam and Noah calling my phone, their voices pleading for help with homework, rides, or just to talk. Each call went to voicemail, followed by a shot of them looking dejected, the screen cutting to text. Another missed call, another broken promise. No context, no mention that those calls came during client meetings, during deadlines that kept a roof over their heads. I wanted to scream, to stop the projector, to demand why they'd twist the truth like this. But I couldn't move, my hands shook, my throat tight, as the room watched me unravel. The final blow came when Liam's voice returned, steady and cold. "We're breaking the cycle," he said. "We're done with the disappointment. We're petitioning to change our last names." Noah nodded on screen, his eyes hard. "You're not our father anymore." The screen went black. Silence hung for a heartbeat, then the room erupted in applause. Applause. Sarah's father raised his glass, his voice thick with pride. To Liam and Noah for speaking their truth. Glasses clinked. Emily smirked, her eyes glinting with satisfaction. Tom and Lisa nodded solemnly like they'd just watched a TED Talk. I sat there, my water glass trembling in my hand until it slipped and shattered on the floor. Emily laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that cut through the haze in my head. I stood, my legs unsteady, and looked at my sons. Liam met my gaze, his face a mask of cold satisfaction. Noah wouldn't look at me. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice hollow, like it belonged to someone else. "I appreciate you sharing your perspective." I turned and walked out, my shoes crunching on the broken glass, the rain hitting my face as I stumbled to my car. The drive home was a blur. A semi-truck swerved into my lane on the I-5, its horn blaring as I yanked the wheel, my heart pounding as I skidded onto the shoulder. I sat there, rain hammering the windshield, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I'd almost died, and all I could think about was that title, "The Man Who Destroyed Our Family." By the time I reached my one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, my phone was off, my tie was gone, and I was sitting in the dark, trying to piece together what the hell had just happened. For 3 days, I didn't leave the apartment. I called in sick to work, first time in years, and let the world fade away. The TV stayed off, the blinds stayed shut. I kept seeing their faces, Liam's smirk, Noah's averted eyes, Sarah's polished tears. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on, and the notifications hit like a tidal wave. 50+ messages from Sarah, the boys, even Tom and Greg. Sarah's texts started angry. "Real mature, James, ghosting your sons after they poured their hearts out." Then turned desperate. "We need to talk ASAP about the boys' tuition." Liam and Noah sent near identical messages. "We just wanted you to understand, Dad. But we need to discuss school finances now. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about humiliating me, it was about money. The boys' private school tuition, $40,000, 0 cents a year for both, was due next week. I'd been paying it voluntarily above the court-ordered child support because I wanted them to have the best. But something else was nagging at me. I logged into the college fund I'd set up for the boys, my fingers trembling as I entered the password. The balance stared back at me. $0, 0 cents. $150,000 gone, withdrawn 2 months ago. The bank's transaction log showed Sarah's name and my forged signature on the withdrawal form. She'd claimed it was for an educational emergency, but the funds had paid off her Amex card. Spa trips, designer bags, weekends in Napa. My money, their future, stolen. Rage burned through me, hotter than anything I'd felt in years. I wanted to storm her Queen Anne townhouse, demand answers, tear apart her perfect facade, but I stopped myself. I wasn't that guy, not yet. Instead, I called a buddy who recommended a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Vince who charged by the hour and didn't ask too many questions. "Give me a week," he said. "I'll get you the truth." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the documentary, the applause, the lies. Around 2 a.m. I heard footsteps outside my apartment door, slow, deliberate, like someone was pacing. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under the bed and crept to the peephole. The hallway was empty, but a folded note lay on the doormat. I opened the door, my heart racing, and snatched it up. Scrawled in black ink, "You can't hide from what you've done." No signature, no clue who left it. I locked the door, double-checked the deadbolt, and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. By the time Vince called 3 days later, I was a wreck. "You're not gonna like this," he said, his voice rough over the phone. He'd found bank records showing Sarah had redirected my child support payments to an account I didn't recognize, again with my forged signature. She'd been posting in a private Seattle moms group on Facebook, painting me as a deadbeat who refused to pay for Noah's broken arm or Liam's soccer gear. The posts were vicious, detailed, and completely false. I had the receipts. $3,000 0 cents for Noah's medical bills, $500 0 cents for Liam's cleats and fees. She'd even lied to her parents, claiming I'd stopped supporting the boys months ago, leaving them on the brink of eviction. But the worst was yet to come. Vince sent me screenshots from Sarah's Instagram, her sipping cocktails at a rooftop bar in Napa, captioned, "Self-care after another week of being mom and dad." Meanwhile, I was eating instant noodles to save for the boys' future. The lies weren't just personal. They were calculated. She'd edited the school calendar she shared with me, cutting out events like Liam's soccer finals and Noah's debate tournaments, then told the boys I'd chosen not to show up. She'd built a narrative, brick by brick, to turn my sons against me. I sat in my dimly lit apartment, the bat still by my side, staring at the evidence piling up on my laptop. The note from the hallway was tucked into my desk drawer, a reminder that someone, Sarah, her family, maybe even a friend, was watching me. I wasn't just fighting for my reputation or my money. I was fighting for my boys, for the truth, for the life I'd nearly lost. And I wasn't going to let Sarah's lies win. The next morning, I got a call from Sarah's brother, Mark. "We need to talk, James," he said, his voice low and menacing. "Meet me at the parking garage by Pike Place. Alone." My gut told me to say no, but I needed answers. I agreed, grabbing my keys and the bat just in case. When I pulled into the garage, Mark was waiting, leaning against his truck, his arms crossed. He was a big guy, ex-Marine, and the look in his eyes said he wasn't there to chat. "You're tearing this family apart," he growled, stepping closer. "Sarah told me everything. You're a deadbeat, and now you're trying to play the victim." I held my ground, my hand tightening on the bat in my jacket pocket. "You believe her lies, Mark? I've got proof she stole from the boys' college fund. 150 grand gone." His face flickered. "Doubt, maybe?" But then he lunged, grabbing my collar. I shoved him back, my heart pounding, and for a split second, I thought he'd swing. A security guard's flashlight swept the garage, and Mark froze, stepping back. "This isn't over," he spat, stalking off. I drove home, my hands shaking, knowing I'd just dodged something ugly. Back at my apartment, I locked the door and opened my laptop. Vince had sent more files. Phone logs showing Liam and Noah had called me during scheduled meetings, times they knew I couldn't answer. The documentary wasn't just a school project. It was a weapon, crafted by Sarah to shame me into submission, to keep the money flowing. But she'd miscalculated. I wasn't the pushover she thought I was, not anymore. I started typing, compiling every piece of evidence, bank statements, screenshots, the forged signatures. I titled it "The Man Who Actually Supported His Family." My fingers shook as I worked, but not from fear, from resolve. Sarah thought she'd broken me at that dinner, thought she could control the narrative forever. She had no idea what was coming, and as I hit save, I knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The Seattle morning was gray, rain streaking my apartment window as I sat at my kitchen table, a cold coffee in hand. My laptop glowed with the document I'd titled "The Man Who Actually Supported His Family," a ticking bomb of evidence against my ex-wife, Sarah, bank statements, screenshots of her Instagram flaunting Napa wine tours while claiming I'd left her and our boys, Liam, 17, and Noah, 15, destitute. My PI, Vince, had uncovered phone logs showing the boys had been coached to call me during meetings they knew I couldn't answer, and posts from Sarah's private Seattle moms group painting me as a deadbeat. My hands still shook from the confrontation with her brother Mark in the Pike Place parking garage 2 nights ago. His grip on my collar, his threat to make me regret it, the note under my door, "You can't hide from what you've done," sat in my desk drawer, a reminder this fight was far from over. But after that Father's Day dinner, where my son's documentary, "The Man Who Destroyed Our Family," humiliated me in front of Sarah's family and friends, I was done being the villain. I hit send, emailing the document to Sarah's parents, Richard and Diane, her sister Emily, and the couples from the dinner, Tom and Lisa, Greg and Karen. These were people who'd known me for years, who'd seen me coach Liam's Little League, stay up with Noah during fevers, work grueling hours to keep our family afloat. They'd applauded Sarah's lies at that dinner. Now they'd see the truth. $150,000, 0 cents, stolen from the boys' college fund, child support redirected to an account I didn't recognize, Sarah's claims I refused to pay for Noah's medical bills or Liam's soccer gear, all lies, backed by receipts. My phone buzzed. Richard's name flashed. I answered, bracing myself. "James, what is this?" he asked, his voice rough. "You're saying Sarah stole from the boys?" "Check the bank records," I said, keeping my tone steady. "She forged my signature, took $150,000, 0 cents to pay her credit card, Napa trips, designer bags, while telling you I stopped paying child support." A long silence. "She said you were living some high life, leaving them broke," he admitted. "I've paid every dime plus their private school tuition," I said. "Ask her about the MX charges." He muttered about talking to Sarah and hung up. The first crack in her narrative, but I knew she'd fight back. I texted Liam and Noah, setting a meeting at a Capitol Hill coffee shop for 3 p.m. the next day. Neutral ground, public enough to stay civil. I wanted them to see the truth, even if it hurt. The memory of their documentary, Liam's cold stare, Noah's averted eyes, the applause, still burned, but I couldn't give up on them. At the coffee shop, I arrived early, 3 folders on the table, labeled with their names, Sarah, Liam, Noah. Each held evidence, $60,000, 0 cents in child support, $40,000, 0 cents for school, the stolen $150,000, 0 cents, Sarah's Instagram posts. They walked in, Sarah leading, her face tight. Liam had a forced confidence. Noah looked like he wanted to vanish. I slid the folders forward. "Open 'em," I said. Sarah's eyes narrowed, but she didn't touch hers. Liam flipped his open, scanning the bank records. Noah peeked, his hands trembling. "What's this?" Liam asked, holding up a screenshot of Sarah's Napa trip, captioned, "Self-care after being both mom and dad." "Proof," I said. Your mom's been lying. About the money, about me missing your events. I pointed to the calendars. Sarah's edited version versus the real one, omitting Liam's soccer finals, Noah's debates. She made sure I didn't know. Sarah lunged for the folders. "This is a setup, James," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to turn heads. I pressed my hand on the stack. "Read it, Sarah, or are you scared?" Liam's eyes flicked to Sarah, doubt creeping in. Noah's face crumpled. "Mom, you said Dad didn't care about my games," Liam said, holding the calendars. Sarah's face reddened. "He's twisting everything," she shouted. "He abandoned us when my mom was dying." I opened my phone, showing texts from 2022 me, offering to drive her mother to chemo, begging to help, Sarah's replies dismissing me. "Read them," I told the boys. Noah's eyes welled up. "You said he didn't try," he whispered. Sarah grabbed my phone, knocking over her coffee. "You're turning my sons against me," she yelled. The barista approached, and I waved her off. "Family discussion," I said. "We'll take it outside." On the sidewalk, rain misting my face, I faced the boys. "I'm done funding lies. Child support goes to a new account I control. Tuition goes straight to the school. Liam, your summer program? I'll consider it, but only if we rebuild on truth." Sarah grabbed Noah's arm. "You don't have to listen to him." But Liam stayed, his eyes locked on mine. "I want to hear you out, Dad," he said, a flicker of the boy I remembered. I showed him the phone logs, calls made during my meetings, proof they'd been coached. Noah's tears fell, angry. "Mom said you didn't want to come to my debates." "I didn't know, Noah," I said, handing him the real calendar. Sarah pulled Noah away, but Liam lingered, promising to call. I watched them go, my heart heavy but hopeful. That night, Sarah texted, "Keep poisoning my boys and I'll take you to court." I didn't reply. Instead, I called Vince, pushing him to dig deeper. 2 days later, I faced another scare. Leaving my office, a car screeched into the tech park lot, headlights pinning me. Greg, from the dinner, stepped out, reeking of whiskey. "You're ruining Sarah's life," he growled, stepping close. My hand tightened on my keys. "You saw the evidence, Greg. She's the liar." He hesitated, spat, and drove off. I exhaled, shaken but standing. Vince's next report was worse. Sarah had co-signed $80,000, 0 cents in loans using my name, claiming I was abusive to the school to cut me out. I contacted the school, showing emails proving I'd been excluded from events. The counselor apologized, sending real calendars. Dozens of hidden events. My lawyer, Carla, outlined options. Sue for the money, modify custody, report the fraud. But I wanted Sarah to feel my pain. My cousin's wife, Rachel, was in Sarah's Facebook group, sending me years of posts. Lies about me skipping Noah's hospital visits, missing birthdays, defaulting on support. I sent them to everyone from the dinner, with proof of Sarah's spending. $5,000, 0 cents on Napa. $3,000, 0 cents on clothes. Diane called, shocked. She said you stopped paying. We gave her money for the boy. Richard apologized, admitting he'd believed Sarah. Tom and Greg, Sarah's business partners, confronted her after learning she'd used their investment for her lifestyle. Liam texted, "Dad, people are yelling at Mom. She's freaking out." I told him to stay out of it. Sarah called, screaming, "You've destroyed my life, my business, my house, gone." I let her rant, then said, "Now you know how it feels." I blocked her, using the court's parenting app for communication. The boys arrived with duffel bags, Sarah's house in foreclosure, her business partners suing. She'd had a breakdown, admitted to a facility. We talked over pizza, the first real talk in years. They admitted Sarah's lies, that I was living large while they struggled. I showed them the truth, my 1-bedroom apartment, my 10-year-old car. Liam stared at the forged withdrawal. Noah cried over the calendars. "We didn't know, Dad," Noah said. Liam asked about his summer program, not demanding, but asking to review it together. A small step. Sarah's lawyer accused me of alienation, but Carla laughed it off. The school called. Sarah hadn't paid tuition I'd given her. I paid it directly, securing Liam's transcripts. We shopped for essentials. Liam's shoes were worn out, Sarah claiming I'd refused to buy new ones. I filed a police report for Sarah's loan fraud, protecting my credit. One night, Liam asked for old photos. We flipped through albums, me at their games, their births. Noah found a hospital photo, time-stamped minutes after his birth. "Mom said you were out with friends," he whispered. I let the truth sink in. Richard met me at a diner, broken, offering to repay $15,000, 0 cents I'd spent on his wife's medical bills. Money Sarah said I'd refused, I declined. "I just wanted the truth," I said. He admitted Sarah's lies started young, unchecked. Sarah's next move looms. The note under my door, Mark's threat, Greg's confrontation. Who's next? But I'm ready, building something real with my boys. The truth is my shield, and I'm no one's villain anymore.